Good morning and welcome everyone to the CPC Annual Public Forum. As you are aware, each year the Community Preservation Committee holds a public meeting to help create a better understanding of the issues that are before the community and where we are looking for applications to address the needs of the community in three specific areas, namely historic preservation, affordable housing, and open space and recreation. The way that our committee works is that we work on the basis of applications made to the committee on an annual basis, and we then work to review all the applications, take a look at the available funding, and make recommendations to the annual meeting with respect to the allocation of the funds that are generated by the CPC surcharge, as well as by the award from the state with respect to matching funds for CPC. This coming year, as you may have seen just recently, the state budget has approved an additional 20% of monies available to the CPC with respect to awards. So that will be something that we will take into consideration as we take a look at the funding that is going to be available for this coming year. Again, to remind everyone, in order to make an application, we need the full application in by 4 o'clock on September 9th. There are lots of people willing to help you in terms of understanding the nature of the applications, as well as some examples from projects in the past that were approved by the CPC. So that's by way of introduction. I would now like to, in fact, do a presentation before we, in fact, get to have the opportunity to hear our guest speakers today. And the presentation today is, in fact, going to be to one of our guest speakers, Janis Carreiro. Janis Carreiro has been involved with the CPC from as far back as I can remember, has really helped set up all of the stuff with respect to the funds that we have made available to her organization for affordable housing. Janis, what we'd like to do is, there's no way that we as a community can say thanks loud enough or long enough or enough times. But what we'd like to do is to have Glenna present you with this floral bouquet as a token of our appreciation for all of the work that you've done for the community and all of the work that you have done behind the scenes in terms of making this a wonderful place in which we live. So on behalf of our board and on behalf of the community, I'd like to have you accept this bouquet as a token of appreciation of all of the things that you've done over the years.
Thank you. I need the garden club here to help me keep it alive. Do I stay? Do I say something, Ken, or do I just go into my presentation?
You got to speak into it because it won't pick it up.
Oh, right here. Okay, well, thank you very much, Ken. That was certainly unexpected. Shall I go into my presentation?
Yes, please.
I'm with the Nantucket Food, Fuel, and Rental Assistance Program, which is an outreach program of the Nantucket Interfaith Council. We receive funding from the Community Preservation Committee. We have received for several years to help address the affordable housing issue on the island. Some of you may recall that I gave a presentation last year at this event, and I don't want to be repetitive, but I think the help of the CPC is so important to us that what I have to say may be repetitive, but is worth a second telling. Everyone knows that there's a housing shortage for island workers, that rents are high. Many lower wage workers are paying more than 1/2 of their income to rent housing, for rental housing, be that a room, never mind a house or a cottage. So how does our organization help to address this issue? Unlike other entities that receive housing funds from the Community Preservation Committee, we do not build nor maintain publicly funded housing units. Instead, we help folks who live predominantly in the private sector, paying rents to private landlords, where a majority of our low-wage workers actually live. Basically, we provide short-term rental assistance to qualified middle and lower income year-round island residents who face a financial shortfall and cannot pay all or part of their rent for a period of time, whether that be because of unexpected job loss, seasonal workers who do not receive or have a significant delay in receiving unemployment insurance, the elderly who live on a limited income that does not meet their basic needs, individuals who become sick, I remember the COVID years, or injured either to themselves or their families and cannot work for a period of time. We also help households that need to suddenly move out of the housing, the rental housing that they have, because the unit may be suddenly on the market or is sold. There may be a conversion from year-round housing to seasonal housing. The units may be found inhabitable due to fire, water damage, or other construction issues. Think about last week's fire. Other construction issues, or to move a family out of an unpermitted housing situation into one that is year-round, safe, and meets all of the town health and building requirements. All applicants that we get are screened for their work history, for their income, whether that be wages, Social Security, or disability income, housing standards, where they live or where they want to live, whether they are their year-round residency, and it is our intent to provide assistance only during the time of financial insecurity, with a reasonable expectation to the landlord that they will assume full rental responsibility once that period of instability is over. All of the payments we make are made directly to the landlord, who owns the house. We do not make payments to sublets or to so-called sublet landlords for obvious reasons. The sublet may themselves not pay the rent. They may keep the money and not pay the landlord, and then everyone is eventually evicted. So our commitment is to the owner of the house and to the tenant. During normal economic periods, essentially pre-COVID, we helped between 60 and 70 households per year, with a significant number of those households receiving funds covered by the CPC grant. We realize that the CPC grant is not a guarantee. We must apply for it every year. It must be approved by the CPC and approved at town meeting. Since the COVID years, we have seen a significant increase in the need for assistance with rental housing. At the height of COVID, between March of 20 and June of 21, when the world for all of us turned upside down, we assisted 228 households with rental assistance totaling close to $600,000. Fortunately, in addition to the CPC funding, we were able to receive several specific COVID relief grants from private funders, from the state and the federal government. But those grants are now finished. So we go back to relying significantly on the CPC to help us complete our mission. Last year, which we operate on a fiscal year, so our fiscal year ended on June 30th. So last fiscal year, we assisted 110 households, and we paid out roughly $360,000 in rental assistance. Roughly half of those monies were covered by the CPC funding. Who knows what Omicron 5 is going to bring us? I read in the paper 35 cases. I now have my mask in my pocket again. And we now have inflation and assuredly the associated rise in housing costs. But I am pretty sure, after having been in this job for a little over 15 years, that we are not going to go back to pre-COVID days. And this year's CPC grant that we received starting on July 1 will once again help us meet our mission to ensure that we have that middle and lower wage year-round island residents who live in the private sector keep their housing during periods of financial instability, and to keep housing affordable for those who provide all the rest of us with basic essential services that we need to stay on the island. So thank you, CPC, for the beautiful flowers, for the grant, and for the opportunity for our organization to help other island residents in need. Thank you.
Next will be Mary Bergman, Executive Director of the Nantucket Preservation Trust.
Is he on? Okay. Great. Hi, everyone. My name is Mary Bergman. I'm the Executive Director of the Nantucket Preservation Trust. And NPT has received a number of CPC grants, and today I'm here to update you on the most recent project that we completed with the University of Florida. This was the University of Florida's Preservation Institute Nantucket and NPT joint project. It was an historic interior survey. This was a public-private partnership to inventory and assess the state of historic preservation of Nantucket's historic interiors. And the CPC was our major funder. We also received some support from the Osceola Foundation. We essentially realized, that Nantucket has 900 pre-Civil War era historic structures, but we were not sure how many of those structures were still retained any historic integrity. Essentially, how many of them had been gutted and how many were still well preserved. The UF and NPT used existing sources of information, including our own records at the Historical Association, records in Plus, a lot of building permit records, HDC records, HDC minutes, Registry of Deeds at the Nantucket County Registry downtown, files from the National Park Service and the Historic American Building Survey, along with a lot of new sources, including a photography collection of that Flint Rainey had of real estate photos that he took, the Denby real estate files, and current real estate listings that are online. You can really go into almost every house on Nantucket online if it's rented out, as we have seen. There are many photos. We did our own surveys, we interviewed folks, and we inventoried more than 500 historic houses. A ranking of these was created using guidelines that exist in the United Kingdom, where this sort of thing is more regularly done. There had never been such a large-scale survey of interiors of homes in the United States that we could determine, other than this project. So a ranking of 1 is a house that has the most historic integrity. Usually, the floor plan is intact. There's historic fabric retained. Maybe there's molding. Maybe the staircase is in its original location. And a ranking of 0 was a completely gutted house. It was really just a shell, a facade. And the rankings broke down as such. We've got 81 houses in the downtown core that are essentially very well preserved, 228 that are a ranking of a 2, which we'd say less well preserved than a 1, but still not entirely destroyed. And then the other about 133 of them were gutted. So that's a really positive development to see that there are a large number of historic homes that are relatively well preserved. Nantucket's Historic District Commission does an amazing job, an immense amount of work to maintain Nantucket's historic integrity, to ensure that historic preservation is at the forefront as does the town's historic preservation planner, Holly Backus, and the Nantucket Historical Commission. And all this is important because Nantucket, a large part of Nantucket's economy, is tied to heritage tourism. People coming here because they can go to the beach lots of other places, but our historic downtown, our historic core, and the feeling that you get when you're on Nantucket is due in large part to these historic resources. So this database, as it exists, is on our website. It's soon going to be up on the HDC's website. I know that I've sent the link to showed the CPC the database before, but it's pretty user-friendly. You go in, it's a GIS hosted site, and you can click on a house, and it will open up a PDF and show you a lot of information about it if we have it on file. So this database can be used by property owners, HDC commissioners, advisory board members, students, real estate agents, really anybody who's interested in Nantucket's history. I am always happy to help people if they have questions about the database. My email is mbergman@nantucketpreservation.org. And since it's an online database, it can be edited and updated relatively easily. So we're really grateful to the support of the CPC for this project. It was a great collaboration between the University of Florida and Nantucket Preservation Trust. And we're just hopeful that more people will be able to use it and keep historic preservation at the forefront of their plans when they are, when properties transfer or work is being done on a house. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Mr. Dixon? Nantucket Racket Sports Association.
Yes, hi, good morning, members of the committee and folks at home. I'm Tom Dixon, Vice President of the Nantucket Racket Sports Association. And I just want to talk a little bit about the history of the club today and then what we're doing moving forward and why we applied for the grant and why we're so pleased that we're going to be able to do this expansion to provide more sporting activities for folks on the island and those who come to join us in the on season, as it is very much so now. So we became a club or an association in 1974. It started with platform tennis, which is, for those who don't know, it's kind of half-court tennis, and as opposed to squash where you can hit off the wall, you can take the ball off the wall. But it's very much a defensive game, and it's kind of more like chess than it is tennis, where you kind of hit through people. Power is really kind of nothing. But it's a fun game. It's a winter sport. Most people go to tennis in the summer. It really makes the winters here much better for those of us who play. And there's quite a few of us who are out there every day, sometimes multiple times a day, as much as our bodies can handle it. So anyway, fast forward a bunch of years ago, we assumed the platform tennis courts from the top of Pulpus Road, and then we had 4 courts. And since we're on land bank land, and land bank allows us to exist there and to be able to have our hut, our structure, which is kind of our clubhouse, and the courts, the land bank had some extra land, and to be able to provide for what is now the fastest growing sport in the United States, which is pickleball. A couple of years ago, we came to the CPC and asked for a grant, and we were lucky enough to get it and built 4 pickleball courts. At that time, our membership, due to injuries and other reasons, attrition, we were down to 82 associates. And the club was not in great financial shape. I mean, we would have made it somehow. We would have had to raise dues, but since we are a public club with a public mission, our goal is to keep as accessible as possible. So guests are allowed to play. At the moment, it's $10 for 90 minutes, unless you're a member, and that gives you access to leagues and tournaments. So anyway, we built the 4 pickle courts. We're now up to 350 members about. The courts are always booked. People are playing all summer. Thanks to the CPC, we have lights, and the land bank, we have lights there now, and work that out at times where we are respectful to our neighbors, and we try and be a good steward in the neighborhood over there at the end of Macy and Hinsdale. So we have the 4 paddle courts, or paddle, which is another sport, but we call it paddle. There's platform tennis, 4 platform tennis courts, 4 pickle courts, and this new expansion of why I'm here today we came to CPC and you have granted us, and through town meeting has been affirmed for $980,000 to be able to build 4 more pickle courts, 3 tennis courts, and a hitting wall. And that will greatly expand our footprint at the end of Macy there, to be able to provide much more opportunity for folks to play. Our pickle drop-ins, which we do 4 times a week, which anybody can show up, be a guest, don't have to be a member, $10 to play for the full 2 hours. We've been 60, 70 people regularly. It's been a little hot the last week, so it's been a little bit calmer lately, but yeah, we can easily accommodate 8 courts when they're built, and it's going to be a really great thing for the club and the community, especially with the influx of summer folks coming in, and in the off season, hoping we can get the schools out. We can start. We have a pro who comes off island and teaches. He's accessible. He's easy to book. He's not that expensive for anybody who wants to take lessons. We have folks at the club who really come out and will teach beginners. So it's been a wonderful, long story short, it's been a wonderful thing for the community, and we are so pleased to be able to offer that, because as we all know, land is a premium on Nantucket, and to be able to partner with the land bank and to be able to have that, and through CPC fund, we would not be able to do it without CPC and the land bank's assistance, because our membership dues are so low, and we want to keep it that way and make sure that as many people as possible can continue to play at our club and enjoy the facilities. So thank you very much. Really appreciate your assistance, and CPA and CPC are wonderful to the community. Thank you.
At this time, we're going to open the floor up for questions, and anyone that's here in the room, any questions that you have, I will repeat them so that our viewers that are on the webinar can hear. We'll also look to see or monitor to see if we have any questions coming in through the panel. So we're just going to give it a few moments before we turn the floor back over to Ken for the closing remarks.
How many people do we have up there? I can't see it. Do we have any members of the public on there?
I think we have one attendee, it looks like. Holly Backus.
But the meeting is being recorded.
The meeting is being recorded, yes. Any questions from the floor or from board members? Yes, Eleanor.
For Janis. No, don't worry. Just out of curiosity, what is you said a certain percentage, it seems like about half of your funding for the past fiscal year came from us. What, you have another source? Is it one source or multiple
No,
sources?
we have several other grants, smaller grants. We have a town contract with the Human Services Department. We have donations. So in all, we have maybe 7 or 8 smaller grants. All of them have to be renewed yearly. And we do an annual appeal, and we have.
You have to come up.
But that is, we are a full-pronged operation. We have food pantry, we have rental assistance, we have food assistance. And so all of that funding is, some is unique to rent, some is.
Excuse me,
shared.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but we can't hear you unless you come up to the microphone.
Sorry. Okay, I go back.
Yes. So Eleanor, you as well, if you want to come up and just ask your question so that the people that are viewing can hear your question and her answer. Yep.
So my question was, what are the other sources of funding for the fuel assistance rental, whatever your acronym is, aside from the CPC?
Yeah. The CPC is, of course, a major funder for the rental assistance program, but we do receive several other private and public grants. they're much smaller grants. Some of them are unique to a particular program. Some of them are spread across all the programs. We also have donations and we have an annual appeal. So the CPC, although a predominant funder of the rental assistance program, is not the only funding we have. So we have, again, some private funding, some private grants from local banks. We have a town grant from the town to which funds principally operations, and we have smaller donors and smaller grantees.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the floor? Okay, and I don't see any questions coming in through the panel. So at this time, we will turn the meeting back over to Ken Bogran, our chair.
Thank you, Glenna. I really appreciate everyone. I really appreciate everyone coming and participating today.
Hold on, Kim, we can't hear you. Just bear with us a moment. Okay, you're good.
All right, I want to thank the three presenters for very interesting presentations. What's really important is for us to understand the very, very many different and really truly different ways that through the CPC we provide benefit and help to all different aspects of our community. So I want to thank everyone for participating, and I just want to remind everyone that applications, as I've said earlier, we operate on the basis of receiving applications for us to consider to award grants. Applications must be hand-delivered to the CPC office at 4 Winter Street, Rear, and they are due by 4 o'clock on September 9, 2022. Remember that, September 9, 2022. And please don't be there after 4 o'clock because we can't accept your applications at that point in time. And we only function on the basis of applications that we have received. So thank you very much for attending today. And I would then like to terminate this meeting.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Linda. Is there a second?
Second.
Neville. All those in favor by roll call. Neville.
Aye.
Dawn Hill Holgate.
He's gone.
Eleanor Antonetti.
Aye.
Linda.
Aye.
Tim. John Trudell.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Thank you very much, everyone, for participating, and have a good day.
Well, you feel better.
Thank you.
Tequila. Tequila.
Yeah.
Mockingbird.
Right.